Welcome to Tales from Tubi.
Hey Tubi friends! Welcome to another episode of Tales from Tubi. If you don't know what Tales from Tubi is, it's where I take my love of Tubi and my love of horror, and I bring them together over here on Old Man Brad. And all the movies we talk about are available on Tubi at time of recording, so if you come to this later, hopefully they are still there for you. So we've hit October, one of my favorite months of the year. I watch horror movies all year long, but come October, I kind of ramp it up even more. But last year, I did every Friday I brought on a guest. We did something special. Doing the same this year, but we kind of have a little theme. I'm calling it the Fiery October of Horror. So every movie has some sort of reference to fire in it. And our first movie from 1964 is called Pyro The Thing Without a Face. And I'm bringing in a very special guest, one of the few people in podcasting I've actually met in person. Ryan L. Terry, how are you doing today?
Hey, Brad, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show, particularly as you enter in the official spooky season.
Yes.
But like you, I also watch horror films all year long. But October is still just a little extra special, so I may get a few more in that I otherwise wouldn't have. And that means that I also get to include some new watches,
Yes.
Which our film today is for me. And I imagine that's the case with many listeners out there. So this is very exciting. Thank you for having me.
I'm sure they're going to look at this going, Pyro the Thing Without a Face? What is this movie? And what's funny is my films after this, I think it was next week, Don't Go in the House with the Cinema Psychos. I came across that movie and I was like, oh, this sounds like fun. It's like a flamethrower killer. And then I just I'm going to search for movies that reference fire. So that's kind of how I found this one.
Nice.
And I picked one from every decade. So we got 60s, cool. Then we're going 70s, 80s, and we'll end in the 90s. But you get to be the first
Fire
to guess.
Starter one of them?
No, we have Don't Go in the House from 1979. They're Playing with Fire from 1984. And then we finish with Spontaneous Combustion from 1990.
Nice.
But you got to kick things off.
Wonderful.
Before we roll into that, if you're in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays at the Esquire Theater. I host a horror screening on the third Friday of the month, and our screening for October is the one and only Trick or Treat. October 18th at 10 p.m.
Love it.
All right, so we're going to start talking Pyro, the Thing Without a Face.
What do you want of me?
Would you love me like this?
A man has a brief affair, then goes back to his wife and children. His jilted mistress, believing that if he had no more family, he'd come back to her, sets fire to his house, hoping to kill them. The man unsuccessfully trying to rescue them is horribly burned. After he undergoes an operation to reconstruct his face, he begins the plot of revenge against his former mistress. This film is directed by Julio Call and Luis Garcia, and it stars Barry Sullivan and Martha Heyer. Like I said, it came out in 1964. It goes by multiple titles besides Pyro, Fuego, and The Phantom of the Ferris Wheel. What were your quick thoughts on the movie?
Well, I was delighted to see that it was released by AIP, American International Pictures. And for fans of Roger Corman's work, you'll be very familiar with AIP, as well as a lot of the collaborations between AIP and Universal over the years when B-movies were the king of drive-ins. And so I did not look up the directors. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a Roger Corman film? then I was a little disappointed. But
well, and then you had Trauma released the DVD.
I saw I saw their name too. So I'm like, these are like, I was like, okay, had incredibly low expectations for this. And then when I saw AIP and Trauma, I'm like, this might actually be pretty good. And well, it does have its moments.
It does.
So I wonder, though, that if the director took inspiration from the early French extremity body horror classic Eyes Without a Face, which came out in 1960. So given that there's some similar themes between the two. And so I wonder if that film, which would have had been released probably at the time this was being written or shortly before.
Okay.
That they had taken inspiration from Eyes Without a Face when at least coming up with the title, if nothing else. It's definitely not a complete waste of time if you want to check it out on Tubi. Once it's not on Tubi, if you have to rent it, do not rent it. Just wait for it to be free again. But it was not a I've seen worst movies this year in the cinema, so
same.
So it's
yes.
It's not I'd say it's a lower end AIP release, but definitely watchable, and particularly in the third act does have its moments.
It does. I agree with you. It does have its moments. It's definitely not a perfect film. It's far from that. But going in, I'm like, okay, it's 1964. First off, I know the pacing is going to be a lot slower, which it was, and it was fine. Like when I got to the end, I was like, well, that was fine. I didn't hate that I watched it. I didn't go, oh my God, don't ever see this movie. But I same with you. Go if you're on Tubi looking for something to watch. Go check it out.
It's an hour and 30. It was like just right at 90 minutes, something like that. So it's an easy clip. Does feel longer than that. I'm like,
yes.
Has it been an hour and a half already? I'm like, this thing's got 20 more minutes. so the first and second acts, particularly that first act, really do drag.
That first act when this man, I think it's in Spain, is where they're moved to, and I'm still trying to figure out, because he has this fascination for Ferris wheels.
Yes.
But he's more of like a businessman, I think.
I don't know what his deal is, because he says he's an engineer. And his daughter even echoes that he's an engineer. His world's best Ferris wheels, 30 feet tall. I guess he probably hasn't seen many other Ferris wheels, but it's like I thought he might have been is he like a Walt Disney or a fictitious John Hammond type, and he's out there creating these attractions, but no. So
they never exactly say what he is, because at first you have this voiceover, but it's not him. It's I guess it's like his right-hand man from Spain, just kind of talking. And then you're like, okay, does he buy and sell? Because then he makes the comment of when he comes into this house and she's going to set it on fire when he meets that will become his mistress,
with whom he has a fiery affair.
Oh. But she's going to set this house on fire to collect insurance. And he's asking how much. And I felt like, oh, I'm going to buy this to make money off of it. So I didn't totally get, because Ferris wheels played a part in the beginning and it played a part in the third act.
Yeah, sure did.
In the middle part, there weren't really Ferris wheels.
No.
But yeah, that first, I think it took 40, I think I looked 45 minutes for him. He has the affair. He keeps telling his wife that he has to work at nights now. I can't do it here. I have to go into the office and work at night. Yeah, there's a red flag right there. We've never seen that in any TV show or film ever before. But then he oddly breaks it off with her. That whole scene where he's like, oh, we're going to break it off here. Here's a doll for your child. I'm taking one for my child. Yeah,
that was, I guess, Investigation Discovery and Lifetime both warn us about, the effects of a woman scorned. So it definitely plays out very much as an episode on ID or a movie on Lifetime in this indie feature.
One thing I will give it, you don't always see, she's a woman scorned taking revenge to burn down his house. She sets his house aflame, kills his wife and his child, and he gets scarred saving them. But then he vows revenge against her. So you don't see like this double revenge usually happening, which I kind of like that part of it.
Yeah, I like when we kind of get to that point, but it's like, why the hell did it take us 45 minutes, if not closer to an hour, to actually get to what this movie is about?
Yes.
Like, what is this title's making absolutely no sense until the third act. There's just like, oh, okay.
Oh, there's the fire. And then he kills two people basically off screen. And then she disappears, he disappears, and they're kind of like trying to find everybody. Mm-hmm. But his I guess his engineer background helps him create this face. Because they make the comment multiple times of like, even if he had surgeries for 20 years, he would never look the same or never be able to do this.
He obviously did not see House of Wax, because I was getting like, that's what I was thinking. Because I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. We don't get that reveal till close to the end, but I knew we were going to get that reveal, and it's like straight up out of House of Wax, or the earlier version of Mystery at the Wax Museum, which also starred Vincent Price, and we get that same kind of thing with the face, and we see that in other films, and so I like that. I think that's a fun trope to have when you're in a fire, which is the case of both the movies I mentioned and then this one. So I like that, but it takes us a long time to build up to that. I still enjoyed it well enough, so there's no reason not to watch the movie.
Funny that you mentioned Vincent Price, because he was originally going to play the Vance character.
I would have loved that. That would have made the movie so much better.
Yeah, he could have brought a completely different dimension to the character. Mm-hmm. And I think because, after he gets burned and they make the comments of like, he's mad, he's lost his mind. Even when he's in the hospital, when he's yelling, "Run, Laura, run, Laura." You try to get the sense like he's angered and he's going to vow revenge. But even when we see him later as the Ferris wheel repairman,
yes,
he doesn't seem like he's that wild. Honestly,
no,
even when he sees her, when he finds out where she is, he still seems like he's still the same old guy he was before he got burned.
Yeah,
and I think a Vincent Price could have brought that different dimension to that.
Oh, very much so. The nuance would have totally been different, and so he would have been able to communicate the duality in character with just a few tweaks that only Vincent Price could do, which is why he was certainly a master of his craft.
Oh yeah.
So I like how this film borrows from earlier films, and does create something new. I wouldn't say it feels derivative of anything. It does feel like an original expression of this idea. So I appreciate the film for that.
Now we know who the real Pyro in this movie is that girl. The little girl.
Yes. Yeah, the little girl.
Psycho. When she's like, give me matches. And the guy's like, here, have
here's
two.
Have two.
And then she immediately just lights the bushes on fire.
And then I interpret her as his love child, because that wasn't quite made clear at the New Year's Eve party, because he mentions your daughter, and maybe I just missed something. I admittedly may have zoned out a little here and there in the movie. So I figured this is his love child, so she's inherited his pyromania, or she inherited mom's pyromania.
Yeah.
And so I or maybe both of them. She got it from both sides. I mean, that's how I interpreted that when you just straight up lit the bush, but the bush was green. So I don't know why the bush just went up in flames like that anyway, but.
Well, I think this was a colorized, the Tubi it's a colorized version. I think this original film's black and white.
Oh, okay.
So, because there were many scenes where you look at it and you're like, is this a colorized film? And I kind of looked up images, and the images they show are black and white.
Oh,
I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So that's where it probably got messed up there, or maybe they were trying to do something else. I don't know.
Who knows?
Not to jump all the way to the end, but the ending I felt was kind of odd too, where he takes her to the top of a Ferris wheel, gives her the little doll, and then he jumps off, just leaving her up there. Like I didn't get that. And then it's over. It starts playing carnival music and it's over.
I guess because he wanted the murder or rampage or moral ethical aberration to end with him. So he said, well, I'll just I got my revenge. I lit up mom, lit her up on fire just like she did to my family.
Yeah.
So I got what I wanted, and I will let this little pyromaniac continue during doing her pyro thing. And then he does jump off the Ferris wheel. So I don't think there's any deeper meaning in it other than I suppose it was just like, I've done what I need to do. So I'm just going to leap off.
Yeah.
Even though he was already dating somebody and she was, quite attractive and was not at all, weirded out by dating a guy who told her I could be your father. Really, it should have been grandfather. But I could
Yes.
and she's just like, she's all about it. And it's like, he doesn't even have any money. So it's like, what does this girl see in this guy? Like, that's the weird thing. If he had a lot of money, I totally believe what she was doing, but he doesn't. And so I find that weird.
He's just the quote. He's the fix it guy. He can fix anything at the carnival.
Yes, I never knew that was a career. Ferris wheel repair man. Like it's a career that travels. He went to all these places.
All over. Now, what did you think of? I chuckled a few times throughout it. The score in this, where it went from like carnival music to like this serious dark music to almost like love story. Like it was all over
from beginning to end, all over the place. I love creepy carnival music, and I like the fact that we start at a creepy carnival and we kind of end at a creepy carnival. And this would have come out. I don't know. Carnival of Souls is 1960 something, but I don't remember when. But we would have had the creepy carnival thing with Carnival of Souls. I think it's 62 or 3.
62.
Okay. So I like that. I think Carnival, as much as we like them, we will also admit that your, local, county fair is, can be creepy. So I would have loved for that to continue, but we do get some upbeat music in places of the movie that are not upbeat at all.
No,
it's just totally inconsistent. It is just wildly all over the place.
Yeah, there were many scenes where it's supposed to be, you almost think it's supposed to be serious.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns into the carnival music. And you're just like, this is not working.
No, it is not.
I still think it's a movie that you should check out. Like, just to say, hey, I saw Pyro, The Thing Without a Face. Like, I just kind of feel like it's got a place in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think it, despite it being just kind of a cheap, poorly written, poorly planned, poorly directed indie flick. Hey, they still got it made. It's out there. It's now been around for 60 some odd years, and we're 70 or whatever it is. Let's see, 62, so it'd be 64 years. And so we're still able to 62 years. So we're still able to enjoy it today. I think if you're looking for kind of a deeper meaning in the film, I one of the things that jumped out at me was the face as identity and humanity. So anytime we have a character whose face is obscured, it often is a commentary on their previous identity, perhaps, or their connection with humanity. So same thing with masks. When you wear a mask, you're separating yourself from humanity, from the public. And so I think the absence of a face in Pyro, and when I say absence, I mean kind of the second half of the movie. But it doesn't.
It's almost like the last 15 minutes, really.
So I think we have that metaphor for loss of self and that social connection. So I feel it's a symbolism of being alienated from society. So I think that's one kind of a deeper, meaning we can get from the film. I think fire is always really fun to talk about too, particularly because fire can create and destroy almost equally in myth, literature, and real history. It often represents a kind of passion or transformation, but it can also represent complete chaos or even annihilation. So I think just as easily as fire can burn out of control, fire can also bring about new birth, such as the case with prescribed burns. And so I love this idea of playing around with what fire means. There's also, I'd say, themes of some isolation in the film as well, being faceless, and we have literal isolation on the island. So I like that, and simply just you can have a lot of power and yet still be completely powerless, or your power can also be a weakness, which you could also talk about fire in that respect. So I feel there are there certainly are rich themes. You kind of have to dig a little bit, and whether or not the filmmaker was conscious of it or not, they probably weren't. But filmmakers are often unconscious with what they put into their films. And so I like how even a film like this, if you want to, there are ways of closely reading it to find a richer or deeper meaning.
I think isolation is definitely a big one, especially with the little girl, because she makes that big comment of like, when are we leaving here? Like she's done. Mm-hmm. She's like, I don't like being on an island by ourselves. Like, I'm a kid. I want to burn things.
Yeah,
that's what she wants to do. I want to burn the world down.
All she wants to do. She wants to watch the world burn.
Yeah, she does.
So she could join with be one of Joker's henchmen. She would fit in. She would fit right in there. I like how fire in here is also there's a lot of irony with the fire. So we have this fiery affair between the two of them, and then fire consumes his family. Fire consumes her. So they were consumed by this fiery love affair between the two. But then in the literal sense, fire ends up consuming their lives, because even though he would continue to live to carry out his revenge, really his first life was dead, and so it consumed it. And so I think that I think there's a lot of fun ways and a lot of really deep ways that we can read that. And so I enjoyed the film's use of irony in that respect with the fire. It's like we start with fire and we end with fire. And like we start with a Ferris wheel, don't ever talk about Ferris wheels for most of the movie, and then we end with
the Ferris wheel.
The world's greatest Ferris wheel, or however he said it.
It travels around and it brings people in. People love this Ferris wheel. And this, spoiler alert, this isn't the only film this month that's going to have a fiery affair in it.
Ooh.
So if you were to rate it out of a 5 flames, how many would you give it?
My approach to a 5-star system is 2.5 is average.
Yeah.
So even on my Letterboxd, when I give something 2.5, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I am saying this is an average. It's an average movie. There's this idea that anything less than 3, it's just bad movie. It's like, no, it is. Don't you remember going to school? And so it is just like, that's the average. It's an average movie. This is definitely not an average movie, but I don't think it would be fair to give it 1 star as well, because it's definitely watchable.
Oh yeah.
I'd give it 2 stars. Yeah, maybe a soft 2, but I'd give it 2 stars.
I'm right there with you at 2 stars. And I mean, for me, 2 stars doesn't mean it's bad. I have plenty of 2 stars that I've watched 100 times.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's not now if it's a 1 star, we might talk it. But yeah, 2. I think it's a solid watch. It's nothing that's gonna blow you away, or you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I gotta watch this.
You mean you're not going to have a burning desire to watch it?
No, you won't. You won't. Those flames will fizzle. All right, you have anything else you want to say about Pyro, the thing without a face?
No, I'm glad I watched it, and so I had fun, and so if you're just looking for something to watch, say it's a rainy day outside, or it's just way too hot to go outside, or just you're spending your time indoors and you're not sure what to watch, just put it on. I mean, have fun with it. I don't think I would make it your 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening movie, but I mean, put it on in the middle of the afternoon and have fun with it.
Exactly. On our way out, is there any other movies that you want to throw out there that people should check out or watch at home, rush to the theater and see? Anything?
Yeah, well, I guess on the horror side, I saw Speak No Evil was a couple of weeks ago, and I really like Speak No Evil. Have some issues with some of the characterization, and no, I have not seen the original, but I have read that it's different enough to where you can enjoy both equally.
Okay.
So even if you've seen the original, go watch it. For those that have seen the original, they still liked it. So I think that speaks very highly that they took film and did not do something shot for shot or plot beat for plot beat, that they, took a concept and made it their own.
Which is good.
So I enjoyed it.
Because I've seen the original, and from the trailer, it felt that way. So that's why I was very hesitant. I haven't seen this new one yet, but I was hesitant after seeing the trailer. I was like, they show everything right here. Like, what's left?
James McAvoy made the movie for me. So he's like James McAvoy almost playing Gerard Butler is playing this character. And so
interesting. Okay.
So I think it's a lot of fun. And then just this week, as we're recording, I screened the upcoming movie adaptation of the, I'm guessing, best-selling children's book, The Wild Robot, from DreamWorks, and I absolutely loved it. Cannot recommend The Wild Robot enough. So by the time that this is released, Wild Robot will be in cinemas. So go check out Wild Robot because we're talking, in my opinion, we are talking Iron Giant levels of quality. And yes, Brad, I know those are high stakes, high bar, but I firmly believe it. So and then just always, if you love these B horror movies, aside from just the wonderful library that is on Tubi. If you get Me TV, check out Svengoolie every week. This is not an official plug or paid advertisement for the show, but it's just from somebody who loves watching these classic horror movies and B movies. And so watch his show, get a different horror movie every week. And even those that I've seen before, I like watching with all the corny jokes, and the little bits, and it's fun. My mom and I watch it together on Saturday nights. We don't live in the same state, but we watch together and we text each other back and forth. And I think it's a great show for those that do love movies like Pyro. And movies in the same vein, because you get to kind of riff on them a little bit and get behind the scenes. And that's just, I like making that part of my Saturday night. And always Drew from Real Feels podcast. He's, I think, a big fan of the show as well. So it's just fun to, that's how I spend my Saturday nights. And so recommend it to other people.
And we all love Drew here. Drew is awesome.
So if I may, though, on a personal plug, I book Monsters, Madness, and Mayhem, Why People Love Horror, which will be coming out next year from McFarland and Company Publishers. So very excited that my book will be out, and it's in the final beta reading stages now. So I still have some changes I'm probably going to make, and in response to feedback from my beta readers, but I'm very excited that the book is going to be coming out, and it's why people love horror. And I go through decade after decade talking about what current events of the time and how those influenced horror films, and where trends that we may see moving forward towards the end of the book. So if you love horror films, and then check out the book when it comes out next year. And
where can people follow along to you? Because you also write reviews, so they can see your reviews as well.
Yeah, you can follow me on X /Twitter at rlterry1. You can also follow my blog at rlterryrealview.com, where you'll find all my film reviews. And I'm on Letterboxd too. I think it's letterboxd.com/rlterry, I think is what the vanity URL is. I love, I post a lot more movies to Letterboxd, as many of you Letterboxd users do, that I do in my blog. So you can all catch about everything I'm watching. And my blog's usually for mostly new releases, and occasionally I'll write a throwback article or two, usually a few of those per year.
Ryan, I want to thank you so much for coming on to talk this movie with me. You and I have we've known each other for a few years. We've back when I was with the cinema guys, and we got to meet in person when I came to Disney one year. And
that was fun. I love when people come down to the parks and I have a chance to meet up with them. One of the benefits of living in the area, and it's always just a wonderful opportunity to get to put faces with voices and with names, right there, IRL, and it's a great time. So no, I remember that it was it the Contemporary? It was either Contemporary.
I think so. Yeah,
we met there and had a lot of fun. I've had opportunity to do that. I think 2 or 3 times with Kevin R. Brackett from Real Spoilers and many other podcasters. And it's always a highlight when I have an opportunity to do that.
Same for me. I've only, in this group of podcasters that were kind of all interweaved in, I've only met a few of them, at least out of state ones, like you, JD from In Session Film, and Nick from now 2Ps on the podcast. I think it's the only ones I've met aside from any local podcasters here in Cincinnati.
Thank you for reaching out. And that goes for, any podcaster, with whom I interact. It's just like, please reach out if you're coming down to go to Universal or Disney, or you're hitting the beaches. Just it's like, hey, you want to grab a drink? I'll probably be available. I would love to sit down and grab a drink. Oh, this is great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, hopefully you'll come back in the future, and maybe we'll talk something a little more current next time.
I would love to. Always down to talk horror. And because of your podcast and because of a lot of the I guess more independent content that Drew from Real Feels puts out, that I've watched a lot more Tubi, because I knew it was there and I would watch it occasionally, but it's really thanks to you and Drew for getting me more interested in Tubi, because I have watched so many movies on there that I've probably heard of, or just discovering new ones. I did a whole Roger Corman binge. Was that about 3 months ago now? And I found so many of them on Tubi. And I love it as a resource.
It's a treasure trove. There's so much.
Yes,
there.
It is. It is a treasure trove. So thank you for spotlighting the content on there, because if it weren't for you or Drew, I would probably not be watching as much on Tubi as I currently do.
Thank you so much. That will wrap it up for this Tales from Tubi. Just make sure you subscribe to Old Man Brad and you'll never miss any of these episodes. We'll be back next Friday with the Cinema Psychos as we talk Don't Go in the House. But keep it right here for even more great horror content. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.